Today's topic is what is climate change? Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural and occur, for example, through changes in the solar cycle. However, since the 9th century, human activities have become the main cause of climate change, mainly due to the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas. Burning fossil fuels emits greenhouse gases that act like a blanket wrap around the globe, trapping the sun's heat and rising temperatures. Examples of greenhouse gas emissions causing climate change include carbon dioxide and methane. These gases are produced, for example, by using gasoline to drive cars or coal to heat buildings. Clearing land of grasses and shrubs and cutting down forests can also release carbon dioxide. Landfills are a major source of methane emissions. Energy production and consumption, industry, transportation, buildings, agriculture, and land use are among the main sources of emissions. Greenhouse gas concentrations are at their highest levels in 2 million years. And emissions continue to rise. As a result, the globe is now 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the late 9th century, and the last decade was the warmest on record. Many people think that climate change mainly means warming, but warming is only the beginning of the story. And because the Earth is such a system where everything is connected, change in one area may lead to change in all others. The consequences of climate change include, among others, severe droughts, water scarcity, severe fires, rising sea levels, floods, melting polar ice, catastrophic storms, and degradation of biodiversity. People are suffering from climate change in many ways. Climate change can affect our health, ability to grow food, housing, safety, and work. Some of us are more vulnerable to effects of climate, such as people who live in small island states and other developing countries. Conditions such as sea level rise and saltwater intrusion have worsened to the point where entire communities have had to relocate, and prolonged droughts are putting people at risk of starvation. In the future, the number of climate refugees is expected to increase. Every increase in global warming matters. UN reports, thousands of scientists and government auditors agree that limiting global temperature rise to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius will help us avoid the worst of climate impacts and maintain a livable climate. However, the policies currently in place suggest a temperature rise of 2.8 degrees Celsius. The emissions that cause climate change come from every region of the world and affect everyone. But some countries produce much more than others, as the 100 countries that emit the least generate only 3% of total emissions, while the 10 countries that produce the most of emissions generate 68% of emissions. Everyone must take climate action, but the countries and people causing the most problems have the greatest responsibility to take climate action. We face great challenges, but we have many solutions. Many solutions to climate change can bring about economic benefits while improving our lives and protecting the environment. In addition, global frameworks and agreements have also been concluded to guide the process of progress, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the Paris Agreement. There are 3 broad categories of action that need to be taken: reducing emissions, adapting to climate impacts, and financing adaptations. Shifting energy systems from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources, such as solar or wind power, will reduce climate-altering emissions. But we have to start now. A growing coalition of countries is committed to net zero emissions by 2050, yet emissions must be cut in half by 2030 to keep warming to less than 1.5 degrees Celsius, and fossil fuel production must decline by nearly 6% per year through the 2020 decade 2030. On the other hand, adapting to climate consequences protects people, homes, businesses, livelihoods, infrastructure, and natural ecosystems, including current and likely future impacts. Adaptation must happen everywhere, and priority must now be given to the most vulnerable people who have the least resources to address climate risks, as the rate of return could be high. For example, disaster early warning systems save lives and property and may generate benefits of up to 10 times the initial costs. We can pay the bill now or pay a heavy price in the future. Climate action requires significant financial investment by governments and companies, but inaction comes at a high price. A critical step is for the industrialized countries to fulfill their commitments to provide $100 billion annually to developing countries so they can adapt and move towards greener economies.